Welcome to Spring LIB.
We're asked to consider the situation in exercise 51 if the cost of laying pipe under the river is considerably higher than the cost of laying pipe over land. So recall from exercise 51, we're told that an oil refinery is located on the north bank of a straight river that is 2 kilometers wide, that a pipeline is to be constructed from the refinery, storage tanks located on the south bank of the river, 6 kilometers east of the refinery, and the cost of laying pipe is $400,000 per kilometer over land to a point P on the north bank, and $800,000 per kilometer under the river to the tanks. And we're asked where P should be to minimize the cost of the pipeline. So instead of it being $800,000 per kilometer to lay pipe under the river, in this case,
I thought it was cool how the bird was like a plane. Is the bird in both?
We're not actually told exactly what the under-river cost is, so we're going to treat it as a parameter.
Okay, that works.
So once again, to understand this problem, we would suspect maybe that in some instances the minimum distance possible under the river should be used, and that P should then be located 6 kilometers from the refinery, directly across from the storage tanks. However, we should show in this problem that this is never the case, no matter what the under-river cost is. Once again, to understand, let's draw us a quick diagram. So we have our refinery here on the north bank of the river. Then we have a point P here, somewhere still on the north bank of the river. And then we have our tanks here on the south bank of the river. Now, the refinery and the tanks are 6 kilometers apart. The river has a width of 2 kilometers. And then, once again, we'll just call the distance from P to the point directly across from the tanks, we'll call this distance x. And therefore, this distance from the refinery to P is 6 minus x. And therefore, the distance from P directly to the tanks, by the Pythagorean theorem, is the square root of x squared plus 4 kilometers. Now, the cost of laying pipes on land in millions of dollars, this is going to be 0.4 times 6 minus x. This is in millions of dollars. As for the cost underwater, this we don't actually know. It's going to be some parameter, I'll call it c, times the square root of x squared plus 4. Where c is going to be the cost per kilometer. And therefore, the total cost, which I'll call big C, actually, let's choose a different parameter because it's going to be too hard. Choose the parameter A. So A will be the cost per kilometer. And so big C, the total cost, is going to be the cost on land, 0.4 times 6 minus x, plus the cost underwater, A times the square root of x squared plus 4. Now, once again, to find the minimum cost, we want to differentiate our cost function. Set it equal to 0 and solve for x. So we have c prime of x. We're just going to treat this as a function of x. This is negative 0.4 plus a times x over the square root of x squared plus 4. And we want to set this equal to 0. So we have ax is equal to 0.4 times the square root of x squared plus 4. To solve this radical equation, we're going to square both sides. So I get a squared x squared equals 0.16 times x squared plus 4. And so solving for x, we have a squared minus 0.16 x squared is equal to 0.16 times 4, which is 0.64. And so x is equal to, because x is the plus or minus square root of 0.64 over a squared minus 0.16, and because we're really only considering positive x, we'll take x to be the square root. Well, this will be 0.8 over the square root of a squared minus 0.16.
Yeah, I'm thinking by open door, it's what that means is it's a VIP.
Now, we want to compare, well, because this is,
I kiss. You don't just fuck him in the ass, you get the fucking. And I will do Greek.
x lies between 0 and 6, this is the problem of finding absolute extreme of a function on a closed interval. So we need to compare the cost for x equals 0, 6, and 2 over root 3. So the cost of 0, if x equals 0, well, this is 0.4 times 6, which is 2.4 plus 0, so just 2.4, and this is in millions of dollars. Likewise, C of 6, well, this is 0.4 times 0, which is 0, plus, actually, I was wrong about that. This is not 2.4. I was looking at the derivative. So it's 2.4 plus a times the square root of 4, which is plus 2a. Now C of 6, on the other hand, this is 0.4 times 0, which is 0, plus a times the square root of 36 plus 4. This is equal to the square root of 40, which is 2 root 10. So this is 2a root 10. And finally, plugging in our critical point, if c is equal to, or x is equal to 0.8 over the square root of a squared minus 0.16, well, this is equal to 0.4 times 6 minus 0.8 over the square root of a squared minus 0.16.
I believe that Vancouver is sold out. Yeah, we're trying to add another show. It was a small space.
Plus a times,
Yeah, while we're out in Vancouver, dude, I just followed him on Letterboxd. If you guys are on
the
Letterboxd,
square root of,
so Toronto June 15th, Montreal June 19th, Ottawa June 21st, Vancouver June Edmonton the 25th, and the 23rd.
0.8 over square root of a squared minus 0.16 squared, which is 0.64 over a squared minus 0.16.
How are we doing on the numbers? The show's moving? Pretty good. Toronto's moving. Oh, I tell you, I love this new era of me doing zero work. I kind of like me and Sub being the business boys. It feels great. Yeah.
Plus 4.
I enjoy it. Yeah, but I got back on Instagram. Plug it on there.
This is equal to
On social.
0.4
As our
times 6 is 2.4
I was debating getting back on Twitter, but I don't know.
minus 0.4 times 0.8 is 0.32 over the square root of a squared minus 0.16
Yeah, I think that the most that's all I do.
plus
Most people are now. No, you do piles.
a times the square root of.
You like reply to like Paul Ryan and stuff. No, I said.
Now this is 0.64
I know.
plus 4 times a squared
He said that he's
minus 4 times 0.16. This is minus 0.64. This is just 4 over a squared over a squared minus 0.16. This is equal to 2.4 minus 0.32 over the square root of a squared minus 0.16 plus, then we have 2a times a is 2a squared over a squared minus 0.16.
It feels nauseating. Of course you have. The Chelsea Clinton thing qualifies. Absolutely. Yeah. This guy tried to cancel me this week for having a black. I saw avatar. That. Very funny. Very funny. Hilarious. Very funny. What a fucking.
Now it's not entirely clear from the way
You shouldn't use black.
this is written, but if you use a graphing calculator and compare, you should find that
Black people are incapable of having an individual identity, even ones that become celebrities.
C of 6 is always greater than C of 0.8 over the square root of a squared minus 0.16. So,
I mean, that's literally such a dumb take. About dogs being agents. That's him? Yeah, it's the same guy. Being agents of gentrification. About how white people are using their dogs to scare black people. It was a lot more convoluted than that. But it was very funny.
this shows that
Dogs are racist.
it's never the case, no matter what the underriver cost is,
Some dogs are racist. Yeah. But I don't think that people are using them as agents of, ethnic cleansing. Yeah. Maybe they are. That's hilarious. You said you were doing digital blackface. Yeah. You're not allowed to be a fan of black person.
it is never the case that P should be located
Alright, I'm gonna go see John Wick 3. Okay. Try to get tickets. Try to suck tickets. I'm thinking,
6 kilometers from the refinery. And this is what we wanted to show.
Misinformed about the plot. I thought this was gonna be a different thing. I'm cosplaying.